Now, I think that we could all agree here that Snow White, the live-action remake, also known as Snow White 2024, is like an ever-evolving cavity that has been left untreated at the dentist, and it just keeps on worsening over time, with no resolution in sight for Disney as of right now. Now, we already know that Bob Iger and the Disney Board of Directors are in a constant shakeup between budgeting restrictions, the cost containment plan, and everything happening with cutbacks. We have a lot more to talk about that later on in the week. However, there's a lot more at play here with Snow White and actress Gal Gadot. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into what's going on with Gal and the whole situation at hand between herself, Disney, and yes, even director Marc Webb. Now, we already talked about Marc Webb, about how he is an individual that really supports everything and all things Snow White by Disney. He actually really loves about what Greta Gerwig came up with the overall story, as well as Aaron. And we gotta remember that it's the same writer here, basically, that handled the Barbie movie, that is handling the Snow White film. We already know that there are moments in this movie in which it does have a lot of aspects of taking down the patriarchy. We talked about that one specific scene that's actually a speech given by the evil queen. We'll talk about that a little bit more later when it comes to the specifics. But what's even all the more revealing has a lot to do with why Gal is very caught up in a lot of drama and holding a major grudge against Disney and director Marc Webb. So, with the Snow White 2024 remake, of course, as Disney's main source of drama for 2023, and creating more complications behind the scenes, one major development has to do with actress Gal Gadot and why she is currently enraged with the current status of Snow White 2024. Now, the crucial updates surrounding this has to do with how the Disney higher-ups and even director Marc Webb have decided to pull two important scenes that Gal reportedly worked very hard on. To be very specific, one sequence which was Gal's transformation scene going from the evil queen to the old hag is now being deleted and watered down, as Disney felt that this scene was going to be too dark and gritty for younger audiences. As it turns out, Marc Webb specifically directed this scene to be shot and created much like the Green Goblin transformation scene from Amazing Spider-Man 2. Even Greta Gerwig talked that over with Webb months prior before filming back in 2022 and now during post-production. Disney is pulling the plug on this scene that Gal reportedly spent 20 takes on to perfect the darkest scene in the movie that is now officially being lobotomized. Now, I don't know about you guys, but the fact that Gal had to spend 20 takes to get this scene right, I think it just goes to show you all the more reason that this movie, when it came to their confidence while filming this thing, was very inconsistent. They probably were not quite sure about how this was going to be executed on film and how it was going to resonate with the audience. We know that this is a very big problem, among many other things for Disney right now, given that Gal is basically having a lot of issues with the fact that Disney is purging a lot of scenes for Snow White for multiple reasons. There are multiple factors that are going into all of this. The biggest one of all being is the fact that they want to shave down the running time. This was going to be close to 3 whole hours long, and that was going to be a big problem for younger audiences. I mean, imagine that. Who's going to bring their kid or, children to a near 3-hour movie? It's just not happening. I don't really see how Disney thought that that was a good plan, but they're dialing back on that as well. Now, this is where things get very tricky, because we know that Gal is someone that already is beginning to realize that this movie is going to taint her career, and I don't even believe that her stardom power is going to make fans forget about this movie. She already came out of Wonder Woman 1984, which really did not do all that well when it came to the fans, when it came to the box office specifically, and when it came to Patty Jenkins' treatment of the story. Now, Wonder Woman 3 is a whole nother disaster. That's a whole series of drama that's been going back and forth. It's canceled, it's not canceled, then it's canceled again. We'll talk about that a little bit down the road. But Gal is now having a growing grudge with Disney for pulling this scene that was described to be her best acting in the film for Snow White, where it's even creating issues between Gal and director Marc Webb, since Webb did not stand up for Gal and her performance and immediately accepted the creative changes handed down by Disney. The second scene that was cut by Disney involved a full-fledged moment in which Gal, as the evil queen, actually fights the 7 magical creatures using some kind of sorcery and dark magic against them. Scenes also involved one of the magical creatures hitting the bark of a tree while getting thrown at it by the evil queen. Disney decided to cut out this scene as well, though not due to Gal's performance, but to cut down the running time in the movie, since, like I said before, it was originally nearly 3 hours long. This was described to be Gal's highlight action scene in the film, and she is actually having a lot of major problems, major ongoing issues with Disney and director Marc Webb for approving the cancellation of this crucial scene that took place in Act 2 of the movie. Now again, we know that this movie has a lot going for it, the fact that there are so many examples of deal breakers, where people are going to walk out of the theater, people are going to just cringe at this movie. It's not looking good with the test screenings. This has been an ongoing failure, to say the least. Now, further, Disney also felt that this scene may have been a bit too violent for their taste, with the creatures either getting choked by the evil queen, thrown into trees, and even one of which getting tumbled over by falling pieces of structure to a building, such as bricks and stone. The evil queen's sorcery and her powers are something that Gal poured her heart and soul into this scene, reportedly, and she only had to do one take on the entire scene. Now, with tensions now evolving between Marc Webb and Gal, it doesn't make anything easier for Disney's production. So that's the other problem, is that this re-edit phase for Snow White, we talked about this is basically Plan A. And basically what Plan A is to re-edit it, rearrange the scenes, cut down the running time, make the story more, flow better, to have a better flowing story, so to speak, to make it more fluid. And Plan B, which was, by the way, a complete sabotage by WGA and SAG that got in the way. They could not do a lot of refilming. So Plan B was to actually do some reshoots. They could not establish those reshoots because of the strikes. So Plan B looks to be shot out the window, and if they do embrace Plan B, once the SAG strike actually comes to an end, they would most definitely have to delay this movie until summer or fall of next year if they want to get some important scenes reshot in there. So again, like I say, this movie's a disaster. It's not looking good for Gal. The fact there's so much drama going around that now even she is upset and very angered with director Marc Webb not standing up for her properly enough, or not even taking any kind of energy against Disney to actually defend his work and what he actually created with Greta Gerwig and Aaron. So yeah, I mean, this movie has a lot of major issues already with that overall structure in and of itself. So anyway, guys, drop a comment below. Fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
Gun in hand, we are alone again. From night to moon we hear them moans again.